we had heard from so many grassroots people that they loved the simulation, they loved to see all the legislators in the room, but they wanted to do it. And there's really no way to mix that and to put legislators in with the grassroots. It tends to become, I don't know how to say it, political performance, right? Because you got a bunch of folks and they're with their constituents, and the legislators feel like they have to act in a certain way and perform in a certain way if the grassroots are there. And that's why we don't even generally have grassroots come when we do a simulation. They're not even in the room, because we want the legislators to focus on being commissioners. So at the great demand of the grassroots, to be honest with you, we did the Grassroots Article 5 experience. We did that out at Patriot Academy. It was absolutely incredible. Watch this video and you'll see.
In Fredericksburg, Texas, and that's where we are right now at the Patriot Academy.
They have built a mock legislative chamber. Convention of States activists can come in.
Commissioners from across the nation, a simulation of what it would be like to actually follow the Constitution and do an Article 5 convention.
The feel of the room is so realistic.
The essence of what a convention of states would be.
I'm impressed with how excited everyone is to be here.
The people here are motivated.
And you definitely feel that in the room.
This Constitution is the finest form of government ever instituted among man for the preservation of liberty. And you have the opportunity to reset that Constitution back to what it was intended to be.
Seeing how an initial draft proposal started and how it gets shaped and molded to become something better.
When our ideas are challenged, we always grow.
You see people really step up
to provide better solutions for the betterment of our country.
There's substance here.
It's been an awesome thing to see.
I love the fact that we get to be in the battle, that we get to be a part of the solution.
to restore what is good and great about this nation. That's why we're here.
I learned so much about how this process works.
Having this experience totally equips people to be a part of the process when it actually does happen.
An extra degree of confidence in what we're doing.
And this is phenomenal.
Like history was being made.
Was a dream come true.
And we showed how that convention can be done and done successfully.
It works.
It is time for the American people to retake control of their government.
I really love the organization. The culture is amazing. Everybody's working for the common goal.
I think that this has been a wonderful experience.
Very well organized.
Very honored to be able to come here. It's just been an amazing experience.
I'm going to freak the staff out here. Do you guys think we should do another one of those? Yeah. You have no idea how much trouble I just got in. Everybody back there is probably just vacating the room. So the guy I'm going to introduce next, we met, God, I don't even know how many. Is it 4 or 5 years ago now? 3.5 years, 20 years? I'm not sure, because we become like brothers. And you guys know who I'm talking about. It's Rick Green. And it's hard to adequately describe our relationship. I think in some ways you could call us the Two Stooges, might be accurate. But our families have become so close, it's like we've completely integrated families. When I hang out with Rick and Kara and the kids, I'm just like a member of the family. And when our kids are with them, it's exactly the same. Reagan and his daughter-in-law Faith work for us, helping to run our intern program. I mean, we actually trade family back and forth in that way. Some of our best interns and our best young leaders have come from Patriot Academy. Some of our best young leaders then go on to be leaders in Patriot Academy or work for Rick. It's just this complete symbiosis between our two organizations. These guys are the best people in the country at training up young leaders. And there's literally, in my opinion, nobody better than that at Patriot Academy. The values are right. It's biblically based. They understand American history in its true light, and they teach it better than anybody else. It's not even close. And what that means for us is we can send people to Patriot Academy, and they can learn all this stuff, and then they come out going, okay, I want to go do something, and those become our best activists. Almost everywhere I go in the country, I shouldn't say almost, everywhere I go in the country, without exception, I'm somewhere and somebody says, I heard about you from Rick Green and Patriot Academy. It's true the other way around too. people are like, I had no idea Patriot Academy was out there until I heard about it from you. It goes back and forth. The other thing that Rick provides for us is he makes sure that all of our people know how to shoot, which is kind of important, particularly important right now. And so he trains all of our folks in self-defense out at Patriot Academy. If you haven't been out there, I recommend that you arrange a visit to do it. Now, one thing that always makes me a little bit nervous when I'm with Rick is I'm not sure exactly how this happens, but he has this tendency to run out of gas on long road trips. I had nothing to do with that. I just want you to know. We're generally not allowed together without minders, usually our wives, and the reason for that is because we make ridiculous, outrageous plans and commit to them. And then our wives, we come home, we're like, hey, we decided, and our wives go, what? No. They usually go along with us anyway. One thing that makes me nervous about Rick is I tend to be kind of a last-minute guy, and people tell you I'll skid in backstage just before I'm supposed to go on stage. Somebody hands me the notes, and I'm ready to go. My staff has kind of gotten used to that. Rick makes me nervous because I think he's here, but I'm not entirely sure. So I'm hoping when I say this that he comes on stage. Welcome my brother from another mother, Rick Green. Woo!
Oh, I love you, brother. I love you too.
Thank you, man.
He's here. I'm so glad he's here.
I almost stayed back there just to make
I'm not. I just want you guys to know, I had not seen him before I came out here. So
Y'all think I should have hid for a minute just to make him a little more nervous? That would have been better.
All right, take it away, brother.
All right, man. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. All right. Where's my chocolate-covered macadamia nuts, man? For those of you that were at Gabe, all right, man, what a great video. I had not seen the video yet. What a great recap, and absolutely we should do that again, Mark. This is typical of us. We'll just go ahead and pick a date and do it, and then everybody will freak out later. I watched, in fact, it's just another example of Mark and I being brothers from another mother and living parallel lives. I wish I could have been here all weekend. Kara and I have been in, we had a vigil for Charlie in our hometown and on Thursday night, and then we were in Boston yesterday and got in this morning, but I did get to watch Mark's Open on Thursday night, and man, just exactly the same, just similar emotions, similar takeaways from what's happening, similar righteous anger, but resolve, and all of those things. And I think part of what the world is finding out, and frankly a lot of the church is having to wrestle with right now, if you have an untrained ear and you watch a Charlie Kirk video, you think he talks a lot about politics. But if you're a discipled Christian, if you're a child of God that's in God's Word, then you know. He didn't have to quote chapter and verse. You know every time he was answering one of those kids on a campus, every time he was on a panel talking about things, every time he was giving a speech, he was preaching the gospel. He was literally fulfilling the Great Commission, which is to go and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey only those things that aren't politically controversial. Everything I've commanded you. See, Charlie didn't leave any topic off the table. He knew that the Bible addressed everything. He knew that the Bible was the answer to everything in life. And so he didn't have to give chapter and verse. It's kind of like David Barton told me years ago. He said there's like 200 and something idioms that we use in our vernacular, in our English language, that we don't even realize come from the Bible because we don't, again, quote chapter and verse. And so I think that's why a lot of people were confused by Charlie that were not discipled Christians, that didn't know the Bible or hadn't really followed him and known. But just look at what's happening now. Because nothing was off limits, he was willing to answer questions about sexuality, about marriage, about manhood, about property rights, taxes, immigration, you name it. Whatever the issue was, he was willing to answer it, and even at a young age, answer it with a biblical answer for how God designed the world, the laws of nature and nature's God, how the system should actually work when we're following his commands. And to speak biblically like that on every single issue is going to get you some haters. And to be willing to stand on those issues. In fact, I was reading a post last night that was some folks that are, in my opinion, like the Pharisees and Sadducees of our day. Phil Fisher, from the guy that started VeggieTales, and a couple other woke Christians, and they were talking about, no. They killed Charlie not for his faith; it was because of his politics. That's how ignorant they are about the fact that your faith influences everything, including your politics. At least it should. And I think that's the test that churches are facing now. So yeah, I would say Charlie absolutely stood for the gospel of Christ, and they killed him for it. They murdered him for it. That's why, like Mark said Thursday night, he truly is a martyr. And I was thinking about what Erica said in her speech last Friday night. Just remarkable, by the way, that she was able to even do that. But she said that he died standing for patriotism, faith, and God's merciful love. Now, if you're killed for that, that's the very definition of a martyr. And they do that because they think they're going to silence your voice. And I know everybody keeps saying, his voice is not silenced, it's amplified. I want to give you a couple of reasons why it is. And I know I'm totally off topic. I'm supposed to be talking about the Constitution. I'll get there for maybe my last 30 seconds, but I can't help it. Number one, because of technology and because of just the moment in time that we're in and because of the way God works. First of all, it wasn't Charlie's voice that they were trying to silence. It was the voice of truth. Charlie Kirk was just a vessel, incredibly effective vessel, but a vessel for the voice of truth. And normally when you martyr someone for being a vessel for the voice of truth, others fill the gap, and that's how the amplification happens. And that is happening as well. That's really what I'm going to talk about. But even Charlie's own voice, even Charlie's own vocal cords are being amplified like never before because of the technology and because now all of these people are going down the Charlie Kirk rabbit hole and they're watching these videos and they're learning about life. And they're learning about what he called a structure for life that young men are looking for how to live their life. And it's just, 100 million views a month. Before, it's going to be billions and billions of views now, and people all over the world learning the gospel of Jesus Christ because of what has happened. Charlie was I started to say, they'll probably make him a saint, and people say, well, no, but a saint's perfect. No, sorry, even saints sin. I'm sorry, whatever your particular beliefs are. I didn't know if Charlie was going to end up like he ended up. When he first met us and Rob McCoy, we were working on biblical citizenship, trying to figure out how to put more people through the Constitution. And we sat down with Charlie. It was Rob and Charlie and me. And Charlie looked at all of Patriot Academy. It was like 5 years ago. And he said, well, can I just buy Patriot Academy? Can we just absorb Patriot Academy? And I'm thinking, this kid's 26 years old. I have no idea, fame, fortune, power, influence, what it's going to do to him. And I've seen people, go totally off the rails, and so I wasn't willing to do that at the time. And so we just partnered and created biblical citizenship, which many of you have been through. And thanks to Rob McCoy, Pastor Rob McCoy and Pastor Jack Hibbs and some of those folks that had a great influence on Charlie. He not only stayed on the rails, he got even better at what he was doing to defend the gospel and to speak truth. And I love the fact that his voice is now being so amplified and that so many people are watching and learning the gospel and learning the biblical position on marriage and abortion and immigration and all those things. But I want to read you a quote from the Charlie Kirk of the founding era. I just happened to be yesterday. In fact, I think I got a picture of this, guys, if y'all have my slides. Yesterday when we were in Boston, we were literally running in, doing this conference, and then running out to get here. And I told my wife, I cannot be here. I just talked about it at Charlie Kirk's vigil. I got to go to the spot where it happened. And so, there's our biblical citizenship class. If you haven't taken the version with Charlie Kirk and Rob McCoy and at the TP Faith version, we're going to start putting that out in all of your dashboards, so you'll have access to that. But here's where we were yesterday. That's the Old South Meeting House in Boston. That's the place where, on the anniversary of the Boston Massacre for 5 years in a row, they had a massive gathering and big speeches. And John Hancock gave it 1 year. Well, Dr. Joseph Warren gave it 2 of those 5 years. And Dr. Warren was literally, he would have been known as the greatest orator of the founding era instead of Patrick Henry if he had not been killed by the British at 34. So very similar to Charlie Kirk, an incredible, articulate, persuasive. He's the guy that sent Paul Revere on the ride on the night of April 18th before the shot heard around the world the next morning. Just a phenomenal guy. But they're in the Old South Meeting House. In March of 1775, they gathered on the anniversary of the Boston Massacre, and he gave his last big speech. He would be killed just a few weeks later. The place was totally packed, and the British were blocking him from getting in. So that window behind that I'm pointing to right there, and that's where he stood up there in the pulpit. They had to bring him in through the window. So they literally had to lift him, get him in through the window. He gives this speech. I set all that up to tell you this. This is the last 2 lines, the last 2 paragraphs of his speech. And I want you to think about Charlie Kirk when I read you this. This is Dr. Joseph Warren, 1775. He said, "You then, who nobly have espoused your country's cause, who generously have sacrificed wealth and ease. This is to you out there as well. Who have forsaken the downy pillow to keep your vigils by the midnight lamp. For the salvation of your invaded country, you then will reap the harvest of a renown which you so justly have deserved. That's what's happening to Charlie right now. He's reaping the harvest of a renown he deserves. Your country shall pay her grateful tribute of applause. Even the children of your most inveterate enemies, ashamed to tell from whom they sprang, while they in secret curse their stupid, cruel parents, shall join the general voice of gratitude to those who broke the fetters which their fathers forged. Now listen close to this last couple lines. Having redeemed your country and secured the blessing to future generations, who fired by your example. Has anybody been fired up by what's happened in the last couple of weeks? Fired by your example, shall emulate your virtues. All those people watching those videos, all those kids learning now how to emulate those virtues and learn from you the heavenly art of making millions happy with heartfelt joy. What Mark and I always talk about, Ronald Reagan's quote, happy warriors out to take back a country and a world to freedom. That's literally what he's talking about there. Which transport all your own, you cry the glorious work is done, then drop the mantle to some young Elisha and take your seat with kindred spirits in your native skies. People keep saying there's never going to be another Charlie Kirk. I disagree. I think Elijah passed the mantle to Elisha, who got a double portion. And I think there's a generation being raised up. I'm not saying they're going to be as much of a savant, but Charlie Kirk worked his tail off to be able to answer those questions. He did 2 Timothy, study to show thyself approved. He did 1 Peter 3:15, be ready to answer. And then Acts 4:29, he spoke with all boldness. And that's what we have to do. We have to become the Charlie Kirks. We have to do that in every sphere we possibly can. You may have 5 people in your influence. You may have 5 million. But every single one of us have to start studying to show ourselves approved and then know how to answer, be ready to answer on all of these issues, and then do so with all boldness. One of our students, 20-year-old Hannah Russell, sent me this the night Charlie was killed. She said, I've been thinking all day about the words of Abraham Lincoln in his Gettysburg Address. We are now engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation, so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hollow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to the cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we highly resolve that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Little Hannah said this. She said, we too should find tragedy calling us to a greater resolve, greater passion, greater action. These years have shown us, these last weeks have shown us, we can no longer be couch Christians comfortable in our apathy while our house is burning down. God has called us to be warriors of faith with the gentleness and compassion of lambs and the purpose and passion of lions. That's from a 20-year-old telling us, get in the fight and do what you've been called to do. Now I have 2 minutes to give my 20-minute speech that I was supposed to give. I don't think there's anything more important I can tell you than that this mantle is waiting to be picked up. And it's not just the 19, 20, 21-year-olds to do it. It's those of us in our 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s that are at that point of convergence where God has prepared us for this moment. I think Citizens for Self-Governance, Patriot Academy, Wall Builders, American Journey Experience, Turning Point, all these organizations have been built over the last few decades for such a time as this, for this moment, for this harvest that is out there. And the difference is this cannot be a Jesus Revolution harvest where you have a revival and a lot of people get converted, but very few get discipled. We've got to disciple those who are coming before us and teach them truth. And it's just as true for our faith in Christ and how we live out our life with our families and our work and all those things as it is as citizens literally discipling our neighbors to be good citizens, to be biblical citizens, to understand why an Article 5 convention is part of that citizenship, how this is a responsibility of we the people to hold our government accountable, that God gave us this free government and made us the stewards of this, and that to not do what we're working on here to put the government back in its box is literally to be the wicked and slothful servant that buried the talent instead of using it. The talent is the gift of the ability to put our government back in its box, to do what Jefferson said. You know, we love to quote, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator, right? Not Congress. I know some people out there want to tell you that. Tim Kaine and all these ridiculous people that think your freedom comes from government instead of God. But anyway, we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and to secure these rights, government is instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Okay. But right after that, what did he say? That when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. Now, here's what I'm saying. How many of you would like to abolish the Department of the Department of Education? How about we abolish the Center for Disease Creation? That was not a Freudian slip, that was on purpose. I like to call them the Center for Demented Confusion, too. Or the Department of Meddling, known as the Department of Labor. All of this is perfectly constitutional, but it only works if we do what we've gathered here this weekend to do. That's the only way it's going to happen. So the work that you're doing is literally picking up the mantle. It's literally taking that mantle and saying, on my watch, we're going to do this job. We're not going to look back and go, man, we could have done it if we just put a little more effort in, or if we gotten this legislator elected, or if we could. No, we're going to be, I want to be able to look back and say, God gave us this moment. We seized that moment. We marched forward. We picked up that microphone, and we did our part. So, okay, in 60 seconds here, sorry, Mark, I know we're supposed to be doing. Here's what we're going to do, okay? We're going to use the 250th to educate people on the Constitution and why Article 5 is a part of our system of government. So everybody's talking about the 250th, okay? We've been talking about it for years. Mark and I talked about it 4 years ago in our recording, but we're going to use this moment where the president's talking about it, and we're able to work with the White House and all these different organizations to get them to study the Declaration of Independence as we celebrate the 250th. But then also teach them the Constitution and say, okay, here's the slab, the Declaration, that the home of the Constitution was built upon, and here's how we bring these principles back. In the Declaration, that next line, he talks about laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such forms. That's what Article 5 is all about. Organizing the powers in such forms, meaning who gets to do what. And that's why we have to make this work. So we created a new course called Rebuilding Liberty. It's a 4-week course, and you now have it in your Citizen for Self-Governance Constitution Coach dashboard. And so it's free for you to sign up. It's free for you to get access to this course. And the key is for you to start doing this in your homes, in your churches, everywhere you can. And it will grow your COS organization in your local area and give you more people involved. It'll get them fired up about doing the 250th and about changing where this nation has been going and getting us back on track. So go to that QR code right there. I had all kinds of slides going to talk about rebuilding the walls, all the ingredients, the 12-step recovery plan for America. We don't have time, okay? So anyway, go to that QR code, and you can learn about all of that in the course when you take the course. Y'all please welcome back my brother from another mother, Mark Meckler. Let's do it, brother. I'm sorry I went too long. And I didn't even talk about what I was supposed to talk about.
You're going to love this even more.
Yeah.
This thing that you just did about the 250?
Yeah.
We're supposed to do that together.
Oh. Well, okay, everything I just said, we're going to repeat that. Y'all ready?
We're good on time. Okay, can somebody roll this out of our way if we could get this, or we can sit behind it. We look better sitting behind it.
We both have a face for radio, so.
Can we roll this thing out of the way, guys?
Grab that and excellent. Hey, did you tell them we're going to do the out of gas tour?
I thought we were calling it the no gas.
No gas tour, yeah. We didn't want to, no gas tour.
That probably didn't sound right.
Yeah,
so we decided to call, what do we call it? Out of gas?
Out of gas, no gas, I don't know, but.
Yeah, so do you guys know the story of us running out of gas?
I was going to put the slide up there. Did y'all hear him throw me under the bus a few minutes ago?
What?
Yeah, said I was the one.
Yeah, you
were. Who was driving? Who was driving when we ran out of gas?
Yeah, who pulled in the night before and didn't fill the tank with gas?
I don't know who that was. That was somebody else on the trip. It was
All right. So the real story, we'll give you the brief version because we actually have things we're supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
But by the way, I got told by somebody backstage that we're supposed to be off stage. We have a hard stop at 3 p.m. And I said, God, I got this hearing aid and it's kind of buzzing on me. I think she said 3:10.
Okay, yeah. So
Okay.
So tomorrow, 3:10 a.m.
Something like.
Yeah, we're gonna.
We could go that long. Don't tempt us. So we're in Montana, right? Is it Montana
which
or
we're
Wyoming?
going back to, right?
Yeah, we're going back. We're going to be seeing you guys in the dead of winter, so we can't run out of gas this time. So we're there, and I don't even remember what cities we're in, but we pulled in at night. When Rick and I are on the road, it's pretty much like this, in the car all the time. It just doesn't stop, and we're thinking of all these ideas and all these fun things we could do and ways we can save the country and people we need to work with and places we got to go. So we're literally just not paying attention. Thank God we've never hit a deer or anything, right? So we pulled in one night. I don't even remember where we were. Pulled into a hotel, and Rick was driving, so it's kind of his fault. And so he didn't look at the gas gauge, of course, and because he just doesn't do that. And we stay in this hotel, and we were swapping off driving. And so the next morning, we had to drive all the way. Was it Montana?
I think we were in Montana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we got Montanans in here, so don't take any offense, but that's the middle of nowhere, actually. Right? Like, you can actually find that place in Montana. And so I was driving the next morning, and I assumed, as I should, that my co-pilot had filled the tank with gas appropriately.
If you're driving, should you not look at the gas gauge? I mean, I can't even see it from the passenger seat. How am I supposed
to trust your co-pilot? It's just terrible. So I get in the car in the morning and fail to look at the gas gauge. And so we take off, and it's a long drive. We're going a long ways, and we have a place we got to be. And so we're driving along, and all of a sudden Rick goes, what's that red light there on the dash? Is that the fuel light? I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that is the fuel light. It looks like we're way low on gas. Like, okay, what are we gonna do? And it was one of these fancy new cars, and it tells you how many miles you got.
Like, it's good, man. As I said, we had 25, 30 miles. We were 10 miles away from a place to get gas.
And so we're driving, and we're driving, and we're driving, and then I all of a sudden look at it, I realize it's saying how many miles that we can go, and no matter how far I drive, that's not going down. I go, Rick, I think there's a problem here. Like, it still says we have 23 miles left in the tank, but we've gone like 6 or 7
Of course, me being the eternal optimist, I'm thinking, well, that's just the Lord keeping the tank full. We'll be fine.
So I drive a couple miles further, and all of a sudden, cha-chink, cha-chink, cha-chink. And Rick goes, man, you're kidding around. Stop kidding around.
I really thought he was.
Dude,
really
I am
did.
so not kidding around. And so we are in the middle of nowhere. There's some cows, and that's pretty much it. That's the local population. And it's actually sleeting outside. So it's like,
there's not even a house.
No,
there's
houses,
not a house, there's not a ranch.
No nothing, no exit signs. We are in the middle of nowhere. And so we pull over to the side of the road. We are absolutely, definitely out of gas. And so thank God Rick has survival skills, because he opens up his phone and he calls an Uber. Just like a regular Boy Scout.
And it said your ride is on its way, and it just kept circling.
I told him, unless cows know how to drive, we're not getting an Uber out here. And so Rick actually, he opens the phone. By the way, thank God we had cell service. Yeah. There's a lot of places in the middle of Montana, you got no cell service. So he opens up the phone and he finds a nearby motorhome park, right? Like an RV park. Yeah. And he calls them up and he says, basically, we're a couple of morons on the side of the road, city slickers, we're out of gas. We think we're about 8 miles from you. Can you, is there somebody there that can help us and bring us some gas? Lady says, yeah, hold on a second. Let me ask my mama. Right? I'm not kidding. Mama Tracy, can you come in here?
Can you get them a jar of gas? That's what she said. A
jug of gas.
A jug of gas.
And she goes, Mama Tracy's going to come out. She'll bring y'all a jug of gas. I said, I'm picturing a moonshine jug.
That's what I was thinking.
Who brings a jug of gas? Okay, so Mama Tracy shows up. Thank God. I mean, it's sleeting. We're just laughing, by the way. We're filming ourselves because it's so hilarious, and we're sending videos to our wives and our staff.
Assuming we're going to survive.
Yeah. or it's just kind of like the last.
Yeah. Somebody will get to see it at some point. Yeah.
And so Mama Tracy shows up, and she kind of looks what you would expect, like somebody who's way out in the middle of nowhere. And she's kind of a big lady, and she's in denim, and she drives up in a beat-up old pickup truck. And so Rick,
actual gas can though.
She has a regular, not a jug,
wasn't the jug.
just a can.
Yeah.
And she gets out, and Rick goes back to talk to her, right? First. And so why don't you tell what she says to you?
She asked us what we're doing. What we're doing out in the middle of country, and I said, oh well, we teach on the Constitution, and we're going out and teaching on the Constitution, and she goes, oh well, do you know? And I don't even remember the name.
Yeah, she names a bunch of John Birch Society
they were all
guys.
big John Birchers. And Mark here's
no.
it.
First no. She says to you,
oh, y'all aren't the ones trying to change the Constitution, are you? That's what she said. Yeah. And I said, no, ma'am. We're trying to underline portions of the Constitution and save it. We're trying to restore the Constitution.
So Rick walks up with Mama Tracy as I'm getting out of the car, and he's like, "Don't say anything. It's nothing. Cannot say anything." And
I'm trying to get the gas in our car as quick as possible.
So it puts the gas in the car, and she's asking me, do you know so-and-so, and you know so-and-so? And I'm like, I haven't heard of those guys. She goes, well, those are John Birch Society guys. Those are the guys I listen to. I'm thinking, good Lord, she's going to call one of them. They're going to get a backhoe, and they're going to bury us out here in the middle of nowhere. It's their best opportunity they're ever going to have, right? End the movement right here. And so we put the gas in the car, and we thank Mama Tracy. We actually took pictures of it. We got video and pictures of all this stuff going on, so you guys know it's actually real. Mama Tracy sends us on our way, wishes us luck, and we get back on the road, proving that even the John Birch Society can do a good deed every now and then.
Yeah, that's good. It humbled us.
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
So this is why when I say that our wives don't like us to go on the road without a minder, I'm not kidding. Deanna, by the way, was partially on that trip, but she claims no responsibility because we were on our own on that portion. I think that's fair.
I have to admit that when my chief of staff is Kay, who Mark helped us name Special K. She really is. She's amazing. And when she sent me the email saying, hey, Mark wants to do another trip in October, I have to admit I paused for a second. I never pause. And when Mark calls and wants to do something, I'm just like, yes, whatever it is. I don't even care what it is. I say yes. But this time when she said another trip out, it's going to be, multiple states up there out in the middle of nowhere, I paused. I did. I just, only long enough to make sure, okay, how many gas stations are there?
You know what? Michelle, who is my assistant, does everything for me, just like Special K, Magic Michelle makes sure everything goes right. In my calendar recently, I'm not kidding, it says, stop for gas. Thank you, Michelle.
Way
I
to
did
go,
stop
Michelle.
for gas.
Can you make sure on that October trip that's in there at least once a day? Yes.
Yeah. God. I think the quintessential picture from that trip is in front of the restaurant where we got on, I don't even know what you call it, the mechanical horses for little kids out in front of the restaurant? Me and Rick on these two horses up like this, like we're riding.
I wish I'd put the slide in, because I made a slide where it's got that picture of Mark and me having a great time. It says how it started.
Yeah.
And then it shows us on the side of the road how it's going.
Okay, so you need to hear all that. By the way, Rick and I end up doing stuff like this on Flashpoint. If you don't watch Flashpoint, we did a special birthday greeting from here for Gene.
Nice.
Which his birthday's not next Monday, but the following Monday, so that'll be part of the montage.
Nice.
But if you haven't watched Flashpoint, you should. It's news with a Christian point of view, and we have a good time on there. We all kind of harass each other. Yeah. Everybody gets in on it. Rick goes in for special harassment, probably because you slide in like 60 seconds late sometimes.
Every time.
So anyway, check it out on Flashpoint. I do want to talk about 250.
Yeah.
So I went to an event at Patriot Academy. Rick asked me to attend. He invited. How many groups were represented there? It was big.
Yeah, it was like 40 that night, and we're working with about 100 that we're shooting for.
Okay, so this was kind of the grand opening for America250. And so we're all there at Patriot Academy in the big legislative chamber. And Rick makes his pitch for 250. One of the things I've been thinking about 250 is I have no idea what to do. Like, that's not what we do, right? That's what you guys do. Yeah. And people are like, you got to do something for the 250th. And I'm thinking, it's just not what we do. And so that's for us, we try to stick to what we call the hedgehog principle. We do what we do, let other people do what they do. The one thing we do well is grassroots. That's our thing. But I knew we needed to do something for 250, so Rick invited me out there and said, we're doing something big for 250. You got to come see. I've invited a bunch of groups in. Moms for Liberty are there, a bunch of other groups. And so Rick makes his big pitch for doing this, and there's a bunch of different sponsorship levels, and so that groups can get in on. And I'm looking at them like, we're definitely doing the top sponsorship level. We want to be in. We want to do everything we can do, not just to support Patriot Academy, but because it's good for us, because we want all the resources. He's got the whole thing laid out. The whole plan is there, how we're going to celebrate the 250. It's absolutely incredible. And so he says, we're just looking for people to come in and sponsor. And so I raise my hand, and he calls on me. I'm like, I'm in. We're all in. We're going to do the top sponsorship level. And so it's kind of like starting the bidding.
I was about to say, which means y'all were the first partner.
Absolutely,
first
right?
Yeah, so.
And so, don't applaud yet. So then I went back and I did what every great leader does, which is I delegated all of this to my staff, because that's what you got to do, because I don't do any of this stuff, except I forgot the delegated all to my staff part. So I went back and I just didn't tell anybody that I had just... Anybody at all? Like I didn't tell Rita or any of the exec team. I didn't tell Patty. I had just made this commitment that we're going to do this thing. And then a couple weeks later, I was talking to Rick. We were talking about it. I'm like, and so, was I supposed to tell somebody about this? Well, how does it work? Like, how do we get this going?
Details.
Yeah, and you know what he said? It was so awesome because he was so dialed in. He's like, I don't know.
But it's going to be fun.
He's literally, I may talk to Trey or there's somebody that will know what we're supposed to. This is the real deal. So if you wonder, like if you look at Convention of States or Patriot Academy, like, oh man, they do such a great job. It ain't us. So ultimately, thank God, the staff jumped in and they approved us being involved in this. And so I want to tell you, it's terrible. I want to tell you a little bit about how this is all going to work. So these guys have a whole plan laid out for over the next year, how we're going to celebrate the 250. There's a dashboard. If they go to patriotacademy.com/.
Or that QR code. If they want to put that up again, just go to that QR code. That's at y'all's website. And once you go through there, you'll have access to your dashboard. And it has all the tools. It has the class. It makes it really easy for you to set up a local class and send out emails to your friends.
Talk about what the class is.
Yeah, so it's, how many of y'all have been through biblical citizenship or constitutional life? Okay, great. Excellent. So it's very similar to that, but it's a lot shorter. We basically hit the highlights. So Tim and David Barton did a bunch of, some new material specifically to the Declaration and celebrating that. And so we wanted to have kind of a bigger, a larger funnel at the top that you could get more people to commit to a 4-week class or even a 1-day, because each of the videos are less than an hour, a 1-day class, and get them in to get fired up, and then they'll start looking for other ways to get involved. And then you could do biblical citizenship or constitutional life and start going deeper and deeper. But it's just a fun, entertaining, spot on at this moment in time when everybody's talking about the 250th opportunity for you to use. And those of you that are familiar with Wall Builders and David Barton, the theme there is, and I still host David's radio program, Wall Builders is all about rebuilding the walls. Out of Nehemiah, rise and rebuild the walls that we may no longer be a reproach. And so this course is about what are the right bricks with which to rebuild, what's the right mortar that you can use and the right mindset. And so it's teaching people how to actually build and then giving them those steps. And of course, COS and doing amendments is sprinkled all throughout those steps. So it's everything from term limits to getting rid of certain departments of the federal government to getting people educated on the Constitution. I mean, it's all of it. It's what we're already doing and been doing together, but just kind of gives us a special vehicle to do it with to capture this moment in time that we have.
And you call the course is called Rebuilding Liberty.
Rebuilding
right?
Liberty, yeah.
And then there's an end goal for this whole thing that you want to do on the 4th. Right?
Yeah, so we're shooting for 5,000 celebrations all over the nation. Now, there's 20,000 communities in America with 500 or more people. So if we wouldn't make the Hall of Fame bat in 250, but if we can get 25% of those 20,000 communities to do something, either at your county courthouse, what I told the White House back in February was, hey, don't try to do a top-down approach. Let everybody do their own thing. Just encourage everybody to get together and do something. Let them have their biker rally. Churches should do this at the church so that you're restoring the church as the epicenter of the community where this kind of stuff happens. Your county courthouse, all that. And so you guys all do one in your backyard. We're looking for 5,000 celebrations. And that's not just us doing that. That's Moms for America, Moms for Liberty, Liberty Pastors, Turning Point. I mean, it's all the different grassroots organizations. And thankfully, the White House is doing exactly that. They're kind of doing a hands-off approach, encouraging it. They're taking the information that we're giving them on founders' quotes and faith moments in history and all that kind of stuff. And Trump's talking about those things, but they're not going to try to micromanage it. There's no special, you got to be on their list to do this sort of thing. So it basically means all of us can do this and use it as an excuse. Now, we'll say we're going to build towards July 4th, but you got to get people educated ahead of time. You don't want them just waving the flag and doing fireworks on July 4th. They need to understand why that flag is worthy of being waved and make sure that July 4th is the celebration where they all come together, wherever it is, in the backyard, church, wherever, and big blown up copy of the Declaration of Independence, and they come forward and sign, and they pledge their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. Because after July 4th is the actual full year of the 250th. In other words, between now and July 4th is our prep time, and then on July 4th begins the 1-year anniversary. And so from that point, we have a whole year to get that many more people involved. So it's really, we've got about a year and a half, almost 2 years from right now to make this count. And don't do like in 1976. That was, if you were alive at the time, you might remember the Freedom Train, and there just wasn't much that was lasting. The only thing that really lasted was Schoolhouse Rocks. Yeah. How many of y'all have ever watched Schoolhouse Rocks? I'm a Bill, okay? That was 1976. That's when that was created. So this Rebuilding Liberty and our courses that we're creating, kind of the Schoolhouse Rocks for this year and for the 250th, let's make it last. Let's make sure we get, our goal is 4 million people. We've already put 1 million people through the Constitution classes. Let's put another 4 million people through during this cycle of the 250th and flood the zone with candidates and just getting more and more people involved. I mean, we should be able to have, honestly, Mark, I think we can triple or quadruple the COS volunteers during this window of the 250th.
Hey, Rick, I just kind of noticed from somebody off stage we're out of gas. Ladies and gentlemen, my brother from another mother, Rick.
Bless you guys. See you at dinner. Thank you, man.
All right, just a couple announcements.